Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. I am One Lion. This is our anniversary, apparently, our affiliate anniversary. I didn't even know that that was there. I just got a message in my chat that said celebrate the anniversary. So hello, everyone. Hello, Dukasoft. Hello, brand new person, Rain Dance 74. Thank you for coming in and wishing us a happy affiliate anniversary. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. I am just changing one more quick thing. So, if you were here on Wednesday, and if you weren't, I'll just fill you in. It's really, really short. I was having an issue with the pipeline build where is configuration. Oh gosh, I need to figure out which one of these is the right one. This one. This is the one that I want. I want to change you to debug. Wait, what? Why is this like 6 times? Okay, anyway. So I was having, or we were having a build error, or not a build error. We were having a situation in our pipeline build where the CSS looked like it wasn't loading in the app. So on our dev machines, everything seemed to work fine. We did a .NET publish on our local machines and everything seemed to work fine. And then we ran it through our pipeline and the CS wasn't loading. And it was very, very confusing. So we spent some time on the stream on Wednesday and Thindle gave me some really good suggestions for how to maybe hunt down what's going on. It was really fun. But then, why am I so quiet? Hello? Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. What happened to my mic? Can you hear me? One second. Microphone is crisp. Yeti. Yeti. Microphone. Hey, Mike. 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 Know what day it is? I don't know why, guys, but my microphone is super duper quiet and I don't know why. Settings. Sound. Input. What? Okay. That was weird. For some reason, my microphone's input volume was turned down to 5, and I've never gone into my input sound settings and changed the input volume. That's super weird. So I don't know why that happened. I apologize. I'm going to equalize my sound real quick while we get moved around this building. Okay, is this too loud? Not too loud. Check, 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 mic check. Mic chickens, chicken microphones, microphone chickens. Test. All right, we're good to go. Okay, sorry about that. So anyway, had that issue with the CSS. We did a whole bunch of build stuff. We did a whole bunch of pipeline stuff. I tried going back to a previous commit and building on that commit, but the thing that happened was our shared packages library changed since then, and the NuGet package version references are carried with that shared library instead of with the main application to let us know we're using a new version. Anyway, it's such a weird setup for how we're doing our NuGet packages. The versions that the app uses are being controlled by the projects that create the NuGet packages. So we can't have a boxed version of our running application, I guess. If we ever update our shared packages version number, we'll never be able to rebuild a previous version of our app without reverting the shared packages. Anyway, that's not the issue. So I kept looking at everything. I don't know if you guys know about this folder, which we will look at together. This PC repo, C drive, repos. Okay. Do you know about the .get info exclude file? I sure didn't. So this is what's currently in that exclude file for me, which everything is commented out, but this looks a lot like git ignore. Ignore. And so the difference between this and git ignore is that this file does not get checked into the repo, but it acts just like git ignore for your local branches, for your local dev machine. And what I was informed of, because I had never used this, and of course I should have gone with my intuition, but what I was informed is that anything that you put inside of here, such as in star.css, because all of our CSS is generated using Sass compilation. So we have a whole bunch of .scss files. We have a pre-build task that does web compile and then changes all of our Sass to CSS. There are two issues with that. When we run that through our pipeline, the Sass files get turned into CSS after the scope CSS process runs. So what that means is it looks for all of the possible CSS files that are .razor.css, puts them in a scoped CSS output folder, and then combines them all into a .scp.css file. If those CSS files don't exist before that process happens, then you don't get the CSS rules in that one file that gets used for every referencing project. And so for me, when I had this thing actually ignoring the CSS files, which is what I make the most changes of, I was told that when I build locally, it's just going to ignore the changes to the CSS files, but the CSS files will still exist. Which, now that I think of it, that's even a terrible description of what it does, because it's like it ignores all changes to the CSS files, not just the changes that happen when it recompiles and it's the same file with a different timestamp, which aren't real changes. Git will show up as these are changes in your project, and then when you try to commit them, they're like, there are no changes. And then it removes them from the list. So anyway, the point is that because I had first added the .css to git ignore, it removed all of the .razor.css files. And I put the specific ones that are generated from Sass just in case there are CSS files that are not generated from Sass. So this is an oversimplification of it. So in our repo, there were no CSS files that are generated from Sass files. In the build, we noticed that we weren't getting CSS, so then I removed it from git ignore, and all of our CSS was showing up again. Then I added this to my local, because I was told this is how you can get it to stop showing you changes to CSS files when there aren't real changes to CSS files. And that meant any new changes that I made weren't going to the server, and for some reason, the repo didn't have the .razor.css files for one major library that we use, our shared components library, and that means that our CSS was broken again. So it took me a lot to realize that this change was actually the one that was causing that. I fixed that change, and because I fixed that change, someone had to break something else. The build had been broken for 2 weeks, or not broken, it still worked. You can run the app, but the CSS just wasn't working. And we have a lot of things that we need to test that are UI related. So anyway, it wasn't available for our tester to test the UI stuff. This is a pretty long story, but it's Friday, so that's okay. So I got it fixed. I published it, and just before I created the PR for it, and then yesterday, no, not even yesterday, sorry, there were other changes made to the pipeline, to the YAML file before that weren't checked into the main branch yet. Gosh, what was the order of this? We've been going over this for like 2 days straight now, and I mean that literally. Haven't done anything else other than that. Somehow there were changes made to the pipeline that weren't committed to master yet, to main. And when the person that was reviewing my PR was doing those, he went from the earliest PR to my PR, which is the most recent PR. And so he checked in those changes and then checked or merged mine, approved and merged mine. And now suddenly the application, when you install it from the setup file, crashes immediately. Like, we have a mechanism in place that if the app is running and there's an unhandled exception, even during the startup of the app, you get a message box that says there was an unhandled exception or an application fault. I forget what the wording is. And then we log it to the event viewer, event log, so that we can keep track of that. However, this doesn't even do that. This gives us an event log created by Windows that says failed to find a dependency for window base.dll. And so my fix worked to fix the UI, at least I hope it worked. I tested all of the building and publishing and stuff manually, and it worked. But now the build is still broken, and we can't run the app and do all of our testing that we need to do. And our release date, which is going to get pushed back, is Monday. This Monday. Like, we should have code freeze today. Actually, we should have had code freeze last week and sent it to cybersecurity for review. And then they take a week. But whatever. That's where we're at. So hi. That's my story. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Friday. So today is Community Day, by the way, which means that I will be opening up a voice channel in our Discord for anyone that is interested in using your beautiful, lovely voice to have a conversation, bring up questions that you might have. You can see my little icon showing up just now. Did I point the right way this time? Is that okay? So you can see me showing up in the top left corner of your screen, and anyone that joins into that voice channel in Discord will show up there with me. You can see who's talking with their name truncated, apparently. So feel free to hop into any of the voice channels. The one that would probably make most sense is the stream waiting room, but any of the voice channels, and I will invite, or I will pull you into the stream room. Just know that if you come into the stream room, your voice will carry through on the stream, and this stream is recorded and gets published to the YouTubes for the rest of the time. So if you aren't comfortable with that, then please feel free to have a conversation with me through chat or whatever is most comfortable for you. I just want you to have fun and enjoy yourself while you're here. Okay, and until we get some guests, again, feel free to steer the conversation using chat and or hopping into a voice channel. But until we get someone that feels like doing that, we will go ahead and look at the last bits of this app. So I didn't check in the changes from last time, which I think we finished, which was we implemented the add functionality, and then we started changing around the icons. So I guess what I wanted to do was get these icons to, oh, for edit though. That's the problem. We're doing edit now. Maybe I did do add. But anyway, I'm still gonna do a commit real quick. Started code gen on, what was this one for? Icons. Icon. And icon component. So that's what these are. These are the icons. If this was just an interesting approach, I don't know if this is a good one, because what it's going to do is use SVG, or in the case of checkmark, an ASCII character for an icon inside of this icon component. And you can choose which icon you want using this icon name enum. And this icon name enum, we are writing a source generator to generate that enum based off of an attribute that we will have in our .razor files, or wherever you want to do it, as long as it renders as HTML. So you could just wrap all of the, like some other icon library, you could just wrap it in a .razor file and then add the enum, or no, it will add the enum for us here, the enum and the class type. So this is what I want to be automatically generated just by you creating a .razor file with an attribute, or anything that will render HTML. Awesome! Thank you so much for the follow, Crazy Mug. Welcome into the One Lion community. We have some amazing people here, and you already seem like you are one, just for the follow. Really appreciate that. Okay, so again, voice channel is open in Discord. Feel free to join if you have anything that you want to discuss verbally. Otherwise, steer the conversation through chat. And until then, we will continue working on the project, which is now linked in chat. Thank you, Dukasoft. You're so amazing. So this project, by the way, is a financial management tracking application. It is intended to show a lot of the principles for doing full stack .NET development using Blazor. And the functionality for it is a lot of just manual data entry type stuff. I intended to use it to replace my existing manual financial management tracking, which is done in Access currently and has been since 2014. Okay, so we started CodeGen on the icon component, and then we also started on the UI. Actually, you know what? I am going to go ahead and... Am I going to? Those are just spaces that I added. Yeah, I'm going to stage everything but these changes here, because this is us starting to work on the edit functionality, which is a different effort than what this commit is going to be for. Anything else? Nope. Everything else is the code generator for the icon component. So local commit for now, and then I'll push it to the repo at the end of the stream, provided I remember to. Okay. So let's pick up where we were. Apparently we were in lookup list edit.razor.razor.css, which should be here. Okay, so the thing that we were thinking of doing, because, you know, if I think of it, that means that you guys were thinking of it, and you're the one that gave me the inspiration for it. Was to have a way for, and I'll show you the UI as soon as I create these two methods, a way to toggle between edit mode for a particular item and just view mode. We can do this as a void, right? No, that's confirm save changes. Private task. Oh, okay. Yes, so the confirm save changes will be a API or a service request, and that will either be an API request or directly to the service class running on the server, depending on how the app is running. And then the cancel changes will just undo whatever changes we started to do, and then hide and maybe just do a state has changed if needed. So that can be void. Okay, so now I should be able to build and show the application. I am a little bit dark today because it's darker outside and I don't feel like turning on the light. So if that is bothersome, please let me know. I don't want you to have a bad time while you're here, just hanging out. .NET mood lighting, and hello, President Not Sure. Thank you for all of your wonderful lurks. You are an amazing. Lurkin. I didn't even have a chance to refill my other water bottle. Hopefully this is enough water for the stream. Everything in place. Are we good to go now? This is weird. I kind of remember my camera seeing more of my desk. Like when I reached back, you guys were able to see my water bottles when my hands were back here. But now that's like way over there. It's weird. Whatever. Just means I'm taking up less space on the screen. That's nice. I don't even know what I'm looking at. My eyes just kind of glazed because I was thinking about that a little bit too hard. So we're trying to run the app. That's what happened. I tried to do a .NET watch and we have not implemented iClonable in all of the lookup item view models. Okay, got it. So lookup item view model, line 14. Will be a lookup item view model of this. All right, so this one is the one that needs to implement iClonable. Can I make it virtual or does it have to be? Oh, right, and then these. Oh. Oh, yeah, I don't do this that way anyway. Var, cloned, I don't know what to call this, is member-wise clone of the current object. And we will go ahead, oh, I can't even cast it to this. So it's got to stay an object. I Yes, I could say I look up item view model. Gosh, that's going to be kind of difficult because I don't want to clone item. And I can't do this, right? This cast, I think, is going to break. No, it casts just fine. So the hard part is going to be this dot item and cloning the T item, because T item, I'm not putting a constraint on it that says it must be iClonable. Because T item could also be a database entity or some other external entity instead of something controlled by our app. So we might not be able to implement iClonable on that item. So I honestly don't know how to get a clone. There was one trick that I saw for getting a clone of an object when you don't know the type on it and it doesn't implement iClonable. We're going to try it. We're going to try a JSON convert from Newtonsoft, which I don't have Newtonsoft, so JSON serializer. Serialize to a T item, JSON serializer dot deserialize item. I spelled it so wrong. Serializer. I think I went the opposite direction. Serialize is the one that turns it into a string. Deserialize is the one that turns it from a string into an object. Okay, so this would be T item. And because T item does have a default constructor, then we can initialize it to new. If that fails, because I think item is not nullable. T item is not nullable. Unless, of course, you know, the type of T item happens to be a nullable type. So confusing using generics. Why do you do it? Nobody knows. I don't know. Wakarimasen desu. I'm trying to click on this. I'm trying to click on this. I'm trying to copy this. I'm trying to Alt-Tab to this. Okay, that's done. I did magic just now. Nobody saw anything ever. Okay. So we've implemented clone. We should no longer have errors, right? Handle, confirm, save changes, cur item. Oh, you need to accept a lookup item view model. Did that say it was nullable? It is nullable. How? So items is nullable, but we're doing a null check right here. So we know that items is not nullable, and the type of items is a list of iLookup item view model, not a list of nullable iLookup item view models, but a nullable list of iLookup. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So that means that here, cur item is not null. So why is this inferring that the type of cur item is a nullable iLookup item view model? It's lying to me. I hate it when it lies to me. Okay, thank you, Dugasoft. I hope you enjoy yourself. Watch that web workshop. I really should consider moving my stream to 11 o'clock and going until 1. It's just that gives me very little time to even try to do lunch. But like just now I was on a call with my program manager again. That's why I started the stream late, but we were trying to work out this build pipeline issue. So it was very valuable. It was worth it. Worth the time. In our new icon component, there is an @ symbol. Oh, yeah, I know which one it's talking about too. There are 2 consecutive @ parentheses, @ parentheses. Yes, we do. Here. Didn't we move it into shared components though? Okay, I'm going to delete it from here. Oh, there it is. That's bad. It was when I moved it that it caused this issue. And actually, you know what? We're going to move this to a code behind. E, save. Control W. Okay. Good to go. So why are you guys angry? Icon name needs a public. Because it's a public member, it needs XML because I told this thing to generate documentation. So I'm going to, and the reason that I do that, the only way that I have found to be able to get the XML comments on enums specifically is by doing generate documentation file. Actually, I think it's any of the XML markup. But good news, the application did run. So we get to take a quick preview at it. This page is just a mockup. Essentially, it's, well, regardless of whether it's a mockup or not, this is going to be a static page. That's what I'm trying to say. There are no actual Blazor things that need to happen on this page. So once I start learning how to use the Blazor, well, it used to be called Blazor United, and I can't think of what it's called now because I memorized Blazor United. But the thing where we're going to be able to have a mix of static content and Blazor components so that the Blazor components only load, the Blazor runtime will only load when it's needed. Blazor runtime, .NET runtime, Blazor compiler stuff. Hello, Disco. But anyway, so this page is going to be static. The only thing that is going to be, oh, and it's also going to be server rendered, probably. I don't know. I really don't know. Because I want this form to only appear when Blazor is available, which it does. I mean, like you can see that it doesn't appear until after the app has finished loading. And that's because index.html is the dump, the right click, view page source, copy pasta, essentially. And so this is just static markup until Blazor actually loads, then this thing shows up. The data entry link works, and it works fine because it's a navigation event. So it's still loading Blazor for this page. So it looks like, you know, you get content available right away that you can interact with. And the initial click on this just takes a little bit longer to get to if Blazor has not loaded by the time you click on it. So anyway, tricks. Tricky. What we've been working on is this functionality here where we have edit buttons for a given lookup item. And when we push that edit button, I want the rest of the edit buttons to disappear. And I want this to turn into an input box, a text box, a way for us to... Awesome! I hope you are relaxing yourself live coding. That sounds like a good time. Yeah, so this is going to turn into an input box. All of the other control buttons are going to go away. Who among us is not typing on their iPad keyboard? Me? I don't have an iPad, therefore I will never be typing on an iPad keyboard of my own. Never. Gosh, things are flashing all over the place. I don't know what all of the lights are for. What does the blue lights do? Okay, so let's write that logic. First one that we can do easily is to hide these buttons. Or I guess the easiest one is when we click the trash can, let's just turn off edit. That was weird. Why was closing the CSproj file telling me to save this file? And then when I push regular save, not even Control-Shift-S, it saved my .razor.cs file. Very confusing. Live Coding says, I was very proud of myself last night. Decompiled a Unity game to give myself infinite cache. On your own? The dev used actual encryption to encrypt the save game files, and I hacked their Gibson to figure out how, then referenced their DLL and used their encrypt decrypt methods, and it felt great. Yeah. So we actually have a situation that's like that in our app that's coming up. We are wanting only specific other applications to be able to launch our app. So because our app is a diagnostics application, it's part of a larger suite of applications that gets pre-installed on this brand of computer. And so we would like the other apps to be able to launch our diagnostics tools from within their apps. There's also a command line way, so we have our own custom protocol to be able to launch the app. And cybersecurity has come back and said, well, because you have that, you're allowing the end user the ability to execute your app in an elevated way without being an elevated user. And it's like, no. So essentially what I think our approach is going to be is we only allow, like we're going to whitelist which apps are able to run our app using the command line switch, the custom protocol. But we need a way to verify that it is one of the approved apps. And all of the ways that I came up with, I already thought of ways that people can get around it. And what live coding just typed out is the way that, one of the major ways of doing it. Just decompile the app, find out what the methodology is for identifying yourself as a whitelisted app. Yeah. Hello, Rain Dance. So thank you for coming back and saying, have I worked with EF Core? So this application, for example, uses EF Core. So the answer is yes. But I use EF Core as my primary ERM. What is it called? ORM. ORM. I got words. I turn that on. I go here. I go here. And then I push this button. So yeah, so these three projects here, the database one is the one that has the context, the DB context, and the models one are just the POCOs. So the models one is one that can be shared with every layer of my application. And then the database one is on the application on the back end. Yeah, definitely feel free to ask. Today is, yeah, exactly what live coding said. So today is a day if you have things that you want to talk about, if you have questions about a technology, or you just want to talk about what you're doing in general, you can either hop into a voice channel in Discord and use your voice to ask the questions or talk through it, or type it out in chat. Yeah, absolutely. Please do. So Rain Dance was asking, can I send the details with link, like an image? Yes, definitely. Yeah, live coding wants to know. He's like, issues. I have to know. We were going to say that you turn off edit item. False. We'll see if we need a state has changed. I don't think we do. So we can see this pretty much immediately. Let me make sure that it doesn't need a rebuild. It does. While we're waiting for Rain Dance. So I'll definitely give you my attention as soon as you post it. And I really like that you asked first. That was really cool. And happy affiliate anniversary to you too, Abadus. Most of you have been here for even longer than that. Yeah, it told me I should share it too. It was weird. I was like, why? Why? And then I did. Edit, cancel, edit. Edit, 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 cancel, edit. Yes, it works. Okay, so now the next easiest one is going to be to hide all of the controls when you are in edit mode for every other list item except for the one that you are editing. So let's do that. If editing and, else if not editing, actually, I think that's it. Else if not editing, right? So we always display the edit item button and delete item button when we're not editing. And the only time that we show the buttons is when we are editing and. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we had to change to get this to behave correctly. Wow. Like a magic. That's fun. All right, so the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this logic here. If edited item. And so we're going to have var edited item equals the that thing, because we're also going to want to update this display. I'm going to go ahead and do the entire TD just because doing the razor markup is easier if you have the TD. So otherwise I'd have to use angle bracket text elements, which I just don't feel like doing. So if edit item, else this. Okay, so this is going to be our input for our edited item. Input type, excuse me, type text, and we're just going to do a text box for now. We're going to @bind value, just @bind since it's an input element. Not the edit item display text. You know what? Oh, that's why I did edit item. I was going to say if the only thing that we're modifying is one property on the edited item, then we could just use a private string field for it. Oh, we got the stuff. But since an edit item has the potential of having more properties that we need to edit, such as in a list of categories that are associated with it. We know that this is not going to be null because we're doing a null checkup here. And there is no reference to it. Okay, anyway, sorry. I guess we can leave that there. I don't know what that handle key down does. But first, we want to go to this thing that Raindance is talking about. So I have a PostgreSQL database with enums. Here it is. And when I had used database first, this didn't generate enums in C# for me. Okay, so you reverse engineered it, and then this is the model that you got back. Instead, it gave you an int, right? It's generated piece of code in DB context. Wow. So I haven't used EntityFramework with Postgres, but apparently there is a such thing as a Postgres Enum method. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it is very different than what, or not very different. I wouldn't say very different than what C# does with enums, but it just looks like what I call a lookup field. So let me know if this sounds like what you're trying to accomplish with it. I'm using SQL Server, and in SQL Server, I have a lookup item table. And that lookup item, just to break it down to its easiest form, has an ID and a name. So it's essentially a database table version of an enum. And then the ID is going to be, like, you specify the ID, but by default it's an int. So when you think of an enum, you're thinking of something that has a member name. There we are. A member name, and then a value associated with that member name. So think of ID as the enum's value, and then the name as the enum member name. So essentially you want a table that's going to be your lookups. That enums table is going to be a list of lookups that's just a combination of an ID and a name. Oh dang, live coding already came up with some answers, and we'll look at that. But live coding said, I'm furiously Googling what a Postgres enum is, presumably constrained on the Postgres side, just like a completely different enum does in C#. Okay, so how could I check user status, for example, in the code? All right, let's go see what the user status one was. What did I do with my notepad? I closed my notepad. I need to take notes, notepad. All right, how could I check user status, for example, in the code? So user status, active or active. Active or active. No notifications. Man. Like, are you able to add values to this Postgres enum outside of this method? Yeah, that's question number one. Actually, let me look at live coding's thing. Awesome. This looks like a cool method. Like, I haven't read this, but I can assume what this does. So that's a good suggestion. Yeah, please do. If you feel like it, if you are comfortable doing so, you are welcome to. But what I would do in this is, instead of having all of these strings, I would have created an enum before even seeing that there was this map enum method. But I would have created an enum that would have in progress, confirmation, canceled, and finished. And this would be a new array of enum. So whatever it's called, in this case, payment status. Payment status dot in progress dot toString. Payment status dot confirmation dot toString. Payment status dot cancel dot toString. Payment status dot finish dot toString. And that way you have a C# enum that lines up with your Postgres enum. And then, and actually I would do enum dot get values of payment status enum dot select to list or toString kind of stuff. But okay, here we go. Here's some code. In context. Can I edit this without needing to check it out? Yeah. Would have been nice. Sounds hard for me. Yeah, maybe I'll just clone this real quick. Then you can drive me. Hi. Hello? Solution? Did it not clone? Is it in a branch? Probably in develop. Evidence said, I think a lot of horror movies started that way. Let me just clone this thing real quick. Oh my goodness. Okay, found it. I didn't know what that was telling me to install. I just opened it. Okay, based on your solution, you might need extra components for a better development. Sure. Let's install anything that you tell me to install. What would you like me to install? Windows App SDK templates. Sure. I have fast internet. Let me close FineMan real quick. Required 0 bytes. Switch to light mode. Why are you selected? Get off my screen. Someone said that this is a horror movie. One string is empty. Okay, no worries. I mean, I don't have a Postgres provider, so I'm not going to run it or anything. I'm just going to look at your code. Or maybe I do have a Postgres DB. Let's find out. I do. I have Postgres installed on this machine. Who knew? It's probably like 4 years old or more. I spend the next 4 hours trying to get Postgres running Dockerized. Watch it tell me I need to restart restart the computer for these changes to take effect. Oh, that's another thing that we're doing. I think Windows Store's apps have a requirement, or they're trying to move to having Windows Store's apps have a requirement that you cannot force restart a computer. So if your app does something that requires a reboot, then you give the user the option of postponing the reboot. You know, you might be able to say something like your computer will restart in 5 minutes. You can postpone it or choose when to restart, just like you do with Windows updates kind of thing. But the other thing that you could do is just give a notice to the user that says, in order to complete this process, you must restart your computer. And that's it. What's up, Java freaks? Where? Where? Where, 5G technician? So seriously, I've spent at least 4 hours trying to figure out exactly how to run SQL Server Dockerized with specific user permissions and DPs created. And do you do stuff like, I forget what it's called now. A way that you synchronize all of your databases across all of your containers? What am I doing? It's loaded. It's here. It was in core data context. Okay, so here we are. Here we are. So what I was saying is essentially in your core, one of your models, or maybe it'd be a different folder entirely, would be, let's just say enums, just for the heck of it. Payment status. And that could be a public enum payment status. The problem with this is that you're not going to get the same string output if you do it this way. Yeah. So I think it read this: in progress, confirmation, canceled, and finished. Yeah. Okay. So there are ways around this. That was Copilot that did that for me. It's magic. The other one could be user role and user status. So I'm going to put them in this file, but then I'll split them out into their own files because lazy. Thank you. Man, Copilot. And jeez, that is insane. That breaks my brain. Okay, so we have an enum for each of them. Wow. There's a few ways that you can do this. I'm going to do it the easy, straightforward way that doesn't require reflection. But you could have a public static. Oh my goodness. Dead. This is like the best I've seen Copilot work. Like the only thing that I would change about this is I would turn it into a switch expression. And then, no. And then I would change this into a, I don't know what this is called, a method expression too. That is insane. Okay, so here you still have hard-coded strings for your lookup in the database, for your enum type in the database, but you will be able to use an enum in your application everywhere, and it'll still refer to the same thing. So if you ever decide that you don't want this to be finished, but you want it to be done or something, you can change this without needing to update your database. But in your app everywhere, you're using done now. So that's the main point of using something like an enum as opposed to a hard-coded string. Yeah, if you want, what I can do is create a PR with this. All right, are you going to do it for this too? Public static. Oh my gosh. And it even remembered that I wanted it to be a method expression or whatever this is called, method body expression with a switch expression. Holy cow. This is just so wrong. My heart. My heart. What's with all of this extra space though? That was weird. Okay, but we're not done yet. So the main reason for doing this again is because you are now using object oriented programming. The only place that you're relying on these hard-coded strings is when you're updating your context. So that one's going to be a little bit harder to do in a very easy way. But this is going to be, since this is an enum, or an array of string, I meant to say enumerable, but we can just do get values of payment status. And what this does is it gives you back the array of payment status.in progress, payment status.confirmation, payment status.canceled, and payment status.finished. And since these payment statuses now have a toFriendlyString method, then that gives you back an IEnumerable of string. So then we can just dot to array it. And so this will keep your database in sync with your application's enum. This means, though, that you're now switching over to code first. So if you are planning on updating your database directly and then having it rescaffold into your app, this is probably not an approach you want to use. And I should have started with that because I just now thought of it. But if you're thinking of sticking with database first, where you reverse engineer your database every time you make a change to your database, this probably won't be a good approach for you, because this is going to get overwritten every time. Yeah, and like it is very, very typical for when you are going to set up EntityFramework for an existing database, you initially do your reverse engineer, EF Core Power Tools, or whatever method you use to do database first, and then you switch to code first. So whenever you're going to make new changes to your database, yeah, ejecting from DB first is inevitable. Like Thanos. What about my pinky? I won't snap, I promise. Yeah, okay, so now we're getting to your answer. Sorry. It was fun to talk about that. Okay, so this one is going to be user role, and this one is going to be user status. And I'm not exactly sure what's up with this. Is this the one that you said might have an error? Class name, ID. Okay, so this is just ID. Okay, who else is angry? Someone else is angry. Oh, I accidentally deleted a parenthesis. Okay, so you want to know how to get the status from user now. So if we go into user, oh, this is not going to be that easy. Because the other thing that I was thinking about is now, where's status? I am so blind. You don't have status. Which class uses the user status? Users. Users, plural. Oh, no, that's where I am. Which of these properties is it? Or is that you haven't put it in there yet? Is that what you're wanting? Okay. Whew, that's going to be tougher. So looking back at what it looks like for Postgres, this is a enumeration type, which is not a table. Oh, was that part of the this? Oh man. All right. Let me show you an example real quick of something that is somewhat similar, but a little different, because I think it'll help me consider what is going on with the Postgres thing. What is the DB set look like for that while I'm waiting for SQL Server Management Studio to load? User. Yeah, it has Postgres enums. All right, live coding. Thank you so much for hanging out, though. let's go into my local DB. Okay, I can bring this over now. So this is what it looks like in SQL Server. We don't, actually we might. We have types, but I honestly don't know how to work with types in EntityFramework from SQL Server, but I assume it would be a very similar thing. Interesting, but here's an example real quick, and if you can, try to follow me on this because I'm just trying to think out loud so that we can get to a place where we can help you with what you currently have. I don't want you to have to change any of your structure. I just want to think through this. Okay, so in the financial management database, I have a very special table called recurrence types. Lookup recurrence types. And so what lookup recurrence types is, DB context, is my enumerables or recurrence type. So that same enum approach that I was starting to set up in your project, I did in this project. I have an enum that is a recurrence type that has a whole bunch of names that I want to show up in my table. And so if we look at this specific lookup recurrence type table, then we'll see the enum value, the enum display text, which again, we did using an extension method, but here I'm using reflection and an attribute, but it's the same thing. So these are the only two columns that really matter here. Oh, and I do even have the enum name in the table. When did I do that? Probably to make it easier to parse it back out to an enum value. Oh, I'm such a cheater. I am such a cheater. Okay. You could, yeah, there's a danger in that. So anyway, this is because I plan on never changing my recurrence types. None of these values are ever going to change. If they do, then I want my database to reflect that change. But it'll still use the enum's value. So the difference between an enum type in Postgres versus using a table is that my ID is going to be the enum's value, and then the name is going to be the enum.toString. So in this case, one time will have an ID of 1 and have a name of one time as a string. Daily will have 2, and then the word daily as a string. Weekly 3, the word weekly, biweekly 4. Again, the name will be this.toString, not this. This is just the display text. But in your case, we want to go from whatever the database gives you back which is going to be this friendly name. And then we want to get back the enum. So we could do the opposite, which I don't like. Public static user role from friendly name. Because now you have two sets of magic strings that you have to manage. If you change it here, then you have to change it here. So I think that's why I would have opted to using the display attribute. Or even the enum member attribute. I think that has a name. Oh, it doesn't. It has a value. And then that way you can use reflection to go back and forth between the friendly name and the enum. Okay, and the reason that I'm saying this is because in the places that use my recurrence type, so my tables that use recurrence type, like scheduled transaction, I'm actually having a column that is the enum, which is essentially an int. So if we look in the database in this scheduled transactions table, we will see that the type on recurrence type is a foreign key to the recurrence types table, and it is an int. But for you, you would want your Postgres column to be the Postgres Enum type. And I don't know how to set that up. I wonder if you would just make it an int. Yeah, let's try this. This is where I was hoping to get to. Will you do the enum member for me? Thank you. Will you do the other one? Thank you. And this one? Thank you. Let me just get all of these set up that way too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get this fully cleaned up before I send it to you. Okay, and then we'll have one way to get the friendly name and one way to go back to the enum. Okay, so in here, you might just be able to have, and I'll put it at the end, a public int user status ID. And so this thing, oh no, why are you like trying to unwrap everything? Yeah, why is my cleanup trying to unwrap everything? It never does that. Do you have a, no, I was gonna say, do you have a, what are they called, editor config in here? Doesn't look like you do. That was weird. All right, and then this will be column user status, I guess. Is that what you would call it? Maybe user status ID because I see it up there as well. And then that will be a foreign. So that's what I don't know. How do I tell this thing that it is going to be a Postgres type of that specific enum table? Let's try exploring in here. Which means that it would be a string. What's the actual types on? Yeah, so in your types, this is all that shows up, the row number and then the type itself. Wait, what? Why do both of these say active? This is kind of a confusing thing to me. Like, it almost looks like this is the one that is associated with the users table. And this is a one-to-one. For user number 1, they're active. For user number 2, they're active, and you're just picking which ones. As opposed to this just being all of your possible active or user statuses. You are able to get, for example, await DB user where use status is user status.suspended. Okay. So let me get rid of that real quick. Do you have a file that I can go into to see that? I do. Typey. View model, users, cards. Content grid. All right. D users. So in here, you are able to get status. So on line 36, or line 35. Oh, okay. So on line 35 is where you would put the dot where. Oh, just status. But I don't see it. Okay, so this is where you're wanting it to happen. Okay, cool. So awesome. Possums. We would need some way to do something like this. So this would actually be the string user status, and we would somehow configure your context so that this user status column comes from the type user status. And that way the strings we get back will only ever come back from the user status Postgres Enum, which would be cool because that also constrains it to mean that you can only set this user status equal to that. The other thing that I would have is a not mapped, and this, again, this is kind of business logic-y, so it might not be the best place to put it in your data layer. But what we can do, this is close to what I want. Do you have any other suggestions? No other suggestions. What we actually want to do is we need to use the extension method to get back the user status from the string. So that's number one. But number two is when we're setting it, we are going to only ever be able to set user status from this method. But it has to be public, I think, because you're using it in the database. Because otherwise this would be private set, and I think that that might break EntityFramework. I don't know for sure. But this here is definitely the way that I would set the user status from the application. anytime that you want to update the user status to one of your accepted user statuses, you would use your user status enum. And in this case, you're just calling it status. So here, your comparison is u.status equals status dot, not equals, sorry, not equals status dot suspended. And so this would be the one where you go user status dot from friendly name user status. So regardless of how we implement this, why is that giving us back a user role? Did I somehow... Oh. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Get rid of you. And then I'll try to clean this up, and then we'll talk through it from beginning to end. We should have enough time. So enum helpers, public static class, enum helpers. One of my favorite enum helpers is public static string. Yeah, we definitely need this, but I wouldn't do it hard-coded like this. We would, I'm going to write out the algorithm, and then actually Copilot's going to write out the algorithm and the code at the same time. I was going to write out the algorithm and have Copilot write the code for me, but yes. Wait, not get member. Oh yeah, it is. Get the enum member attribute. And finally, oh my goodness. Oh, tab coding heroes. Anyway, I would still write this a little bit different, where it is string dot is null or white space me. Not me, sorry. Attributes dot length is less than or equal to 0. And return me to string. So that gets rid of this. I don't know why I'm putting in parentheses. Yeah, right now, like, Copilot has been annoying me lately, but with this, it is doing pretty snazzy. Oh, yeah, okay, my bad. I would do it a different way still, which is... we're only expecting one. Something more like this. Okay. And then instead, this is going to be T, where T is an enum. Or I didn't need to do that on that one. but whatever. Consistency. Public static T from friendly name from friendly string. No? Okay. This string. Oh, of T. It likes to use this me word. I don't use me though. That's very VB-ish. Dude, why did you do that? How long have I been coding in general? Since 2000. Actually, I started on a Commodore 64 in the late 80s, early 90s. And I was very, very young, so I wouldn't call that programming. Then in the mid to late 90s, I did a little bit of VB6. And then in 2000, I started university for computer science, where I started C++, Java, and a couple other languages. But I was also doing a lot of VBA macros. Oh yeah, that's awesome. What location are you around? So in the US, there's definitely tons of places. And if you wanted, you could send me your resume and I can refer you for positions. In the place that I currently work. They definitely take new grads and junior positions. But if you're not in the US, I don't know that I'd be able to help. You're from Russia. The company does operate in, do they? They operate in Eastern Asia. Maybe Russia. I don't know. So it's Sogeti, which is a consulting firm. It is a little bit dangerous to work for a consulting firm, though, because they do tend to lose people. Like, they forget that we are people. Instead, we're just assets that they throw, or resources that they throw at a problem, and then kind of just discard us whenever they're done, or don't really treat. But not always the case. And I guess they would be operating as Capgemini in East Asia. Okay, so we're going to get the enum attribute, and we're going to compare the value to the passed in string. If there isn't one, then we try to parse the string directly, which you can just do as enum dot try parse t type out. Oh, me. Bar parse default. Is it just parse? He must be non-nullable. Okay, I'll leave it the way you had it then. You're better than me, Copilot. I get it. I get it. Let me catch up on chat. Okay, so anyway, we now have a to friendly string and from friendly string that will give us back the enum type. So when you use it, then you need to specify the type that you want back. From friendly string. Okay. So once again, the only thing that will be missing from this is somehow associating this user status value column type to the type user status. So can we do that? Model builder dot entity user, which is probably somewhere down there, isn't it? Yeah, it's way down there. Entity dot map dot type column property user oh my gosh, I suddenly can't type. E dot user status. No. Okay, do we have a way to associate this with a Postgres column type? Has column type. Like, this is the only way that I could assume it would work. So we would need to research that, which we still have a little bit of time, but let me catch up on chat. And again, if there were things that I said that you wanted to try to listen back to, I will be posting this video to YouTube no sooner than 24 hours after we're done with the stream, so you can always watch it back. My YouTube channel is here. But hopefully you will be able to get through this. Okay, did I miss anything so far? No. So President Not Sure said that ain't good for the consultation companies, consulting firms treating people as assets instead of people sometimes. Yeah. I had sent a request to get an internship in a big Russian bank company. Yeah, banks apparently in Europe and Asia are pretty good places to get some programming experience. Actually, even in the US, but most of the US stuff, at least .NET wise, is government. So I hope I'll pass the exams for that and get some experience. Yeah, I really hope so. And everyone is wishing you good luck. I thought it's not such a hard task. Yeah, if I was more familiar with doing Postgres entity framework stuff, then I'd be able to help you right away. But with SQL Server, like, again, you could probably do it the SQL Server way without using user-defined types, which is create a table called user status, pre-populate it with your enum values, and then anytime that you get that back, then you can have a foreign key relationship one to many, or many to one, I guess, from users to user status. I heard that bank applications in the US is bad. I have never worked at a bank. Yeah, they still seem to use COBOL. But we do have a few viewers, or at least members of our community, that do work at banks. And like Broken Sword, for example, is now using Blazor on their bank software, or insurance company, I think is now where he's at. But he used to work at banks as well. So financial institutions in general. They might have started using Blazor, which is awesome. I work for a consulting firm, which they have multiple clients, but the client that I'm assigned to, it's a desktop WPF application, but I'm writing all of the UI using Blazor. It's just so nice to be able to do Blazor everywhere. I get so worked up about it because it's just awesome. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to do a quick search for EntityFramework EntityFramework, Postgres, column type user defined type enum. I don't know. I'm terrible at doing that, at searching. So we know this, but how do we use it as a column? Wow. Is it that easy? Yeah, it will only add new values to existing enums. But if you're going to modify an existing value or removing enums, then you need to do it after you create the migration. So, well, here is a link to this documentation. If you are not, or if you haven't gotten familiar with migrations yet, that would probably be another thing that you would look at or want to look at. But essentially, any changes that you want to make to your database structure, such as changing an enum value, would be done using a migration. And since all of your database stuff is in this core project, you could also add your migrations to it. I would do it in a separate project so that it doesn't get published with your app as an assembly. But we'll just see if we can do a migration really quick. The only thing you should have to do is set your main application that has the connection string and everything. Once you get your connection string changed to the actual connection string, which is going to be a completely different issue because you're using app.config. So it'll be hard to hide the connection string. Anyway, so you have that as your startup app, and then you target it, and then you say add migration. Let's just do initial create for now. Initial create, output to power meter core migrations. I guess just that. Right. But then it would also require all of the NuGet packages. So EntityFramework core. How did you not already have EntityFramework core referenced? .design. No, .tools. .tools. And I need to fix this. Hopefully I wrote this correctly. So it would output build failed. Different versions of EntityFramework core. So I need to downgrade to .5. 4.4. Parameter core uses EntityFramework core 7.0.8, which is higher than identity, but I just changed it. I know a couple hotkeys. You kind of get used to them. Installed u r.4 now. So why is it telling me? No, it's all definitely from using the tools all the time. So the first place that it started happening was when I was using Excel and doing all of the VBA macros. I would accidentally push something on the keyboard and magic would happen on the screen and I'd be like, how did I do that? So then I would search until I made it happen again. And then the same thing happened with Eclipse when I was using Eclipse because I used to do Java. And then like it's all from I accidentally pushed a thing. But then with Visual Studio, after some time, it's like, all right, I'm getting used to these things. So now I want to know, is there a way to do blah? And so the easiest way to check for that is just go into Tools, Options, Keyboard, and then look for the thing that you're trying to trigger, and then just check to see if there's a shortcut key for it, like Add New File. Add quick file. Add quick file, for example. So Shift F2 is the keyboard shortcut for adding a quick file. And so as you start using things, plus there is a really, really good video, or many really good videos on the .NET channel about keyboard shortcuts in Visual Studio. So things like you're in this file here, you're somewhere deep in your Solution Explorer somewhere else, and you want to go to this file. There it is. I found the file just by pushing two buttons, or combination of holding one button down and pushing two other buttons. I want to go over to the Solution Explorer directly, and I just learned this one from live coding, was Control. Oh no, I forgot it. Control slash. Oh no, I forgot it. I forgot which one it was. Anyway, there's a button just for going to this. Control I, Control L. I don't remember. But yeah, like just now, if I didn't know that Control L deleted a line, then I would have pushed it and been like, how did I do that? And then I push it back and forth and I figure out, oh, that deletes the line. And then I go down here and I try to paste it and it's like, wait. Oh, let's do this one. So that is a full line cut. But then Control Shift L, oh, I guess I couldn't show it with that one. Control Shift L deletes it without putting it in your clipboard. And then you start learning all of these key presses. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier. I still am using mouse and keyboard most of the time. I do transfer back and forth. I used to be someone that's like, oh, I never use mouse. Mouse is for plebs. But now I'm like, you know, there are things that are faster when you use your mouse, and there are things that are faster when you use just keyboard, and then there's things that are faster when you use a combination of. Once you get used to it. Anyway, so we are going to have to stop, but this was a great thing to look at. The homework that I would give you is I'm going to create a new branch off of this called Enum Explorer or something. Bring the changes. I will commit it, which means it'll ask me to fork it. Explored, adding an enum for the Postgres enum types. I guess it's Postgre when you don't put the SQL at the end. enum types. And then I will commit. It will ask me to fork. I thought it was supposed to ask me to fork. Anyway, I'll make sure to do that, but I will send a PR to you for this. And that way you have these changes. You have this video to go back and watch the things that we did go over, but your homework would be to figure out how to associate the new user user status column in the user object, in the user entity, with the user type, user status type. And then you would do the same for all of your other custom types, user-defined types. But I will make sure to get this forked, and then I actually don't know how to fork a repo in Visual Studio, but I'll do that today. And then you should have it by tomorrow because I need to get back to work. But yeah, sorry we couldn't go all the way, but I'm glad I was able to help you a little. That's going to be it for my time today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your question, Rain Dance. And I will be back on Monday, same time. So from 2 hours ago until now. And I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then every Friday is community day, so we can do stuff like this. Feel free to join our Discord. Yeah, and then definitely hop into our Discord if you do Discord and ask questions there if you get stuck on any of the parts that you're working on. Most of us are .NET developers in Discord, but that means that we do have a lot of experience with EntityFramework. But I'm not exactly sure what the makeup of databases is that we have, because like Dukasoft, for example, uses WordPress, which is a content management system, and that typically uses MySQL, or what's the other database that WordPress uses a lot? And hi, Scott, and thank you so much. Raid C# Fritz. Oh, okay, I guess. How close is he to ending? Kind of looks like he's in the middle of discussing a thing. What was he just talking about? If he was talking about people coming in raiding to try to get other people to subscribe to their own channel, that's kind of scary. But anyway, C# Fritz is a .NET developer. He does a lot of Blazor. He has his own app called ClipTalk, and it is a full-on app with a real database and everything, and it's really cool. He shows a lot of the same types of things for full stack development. So we will try to raid C# Fritz, and I will not have a nervous breakdown after doing it. I like to raid people in our community that are just as small as us or medium. He's awesome. It's just I don't want to come off as looking like a money grubber, whatever. Trying to ride off the coattails of someone else, because I don't care about popularity, fame, etc. But doesn't matter. We're going to head over to C# Fritz. We're going to try it out. I'll be lurking on his channel until he is done streaming for the day. You can find me on Discord. I will post this video to YouTube, the recording of this video to YouTube, no sooner than 24 hours after I end the stream. And I owe you, Rain Dance, a PR with the changes that we made during the stream. So for now, I will say ciao, and I will catch you guys in the next stream that you feel like showing up to. For now.